So we head off and we're going through the doors of the main building, and the first thing I'm briefly going to touch on is this notice board. And the reason I mention that is because in about 1971-72, when I was here as a recruit, this notice board meant a lot to us because it told us how we had fared in our training at the mounted cadre. And we were examined in two ways: academically, about horse health, horse care, parts of a horse, and also on our riding and the various members of the course. You got a mark to see how you came overall in the scheme of your training at the mounted cadre. So we've moved on now into the main stable block, and you can see the structure as it was built in 1917, and that roof structure and the way it is built to allow good ventilation. And we're going to go down the other side, because what I'll explain to you is, as I've said, I was here in about 71 and again in 72. And when I was here, this was not how it was built in the 70s, where you can see this yellow line and gutter running down the middle. That used to be a mini train track, and that was because in those days there was a fodder cart, and the fodder cart ran up and down here to feed the horses. And that is again because this is completely restructured. You'll see the steel and bricks of this structure now, and that's not how it originally was and how it was in the 1970s, because then when that cart came down the middle, the actual horse stalls were in very close, so that the horses could be fed straight into their feed troughs. When we come down here, you'll see that they've saved some of these early stalls. So if we just look at one of these stalls here, we can see the feed trough against the wall, but that is not how it was when the place was originally built. You have to turn that stall through 180 degrees so that that feed trough you can see there was actually out here near where the yellow line was, so that the horses, instead of as it's shown there, the horse's head would be against the wall. It wasn't. The horse's head was against the yellow line, and then where the wall is that you can see, there wasn't a wall here going straight to the building wall. There was a gap so that you could take the horse out of the stall backwards against the wall, and then you walk them out against that wall with the stall up here on the yellow line. And what we've got here is one of the carts. This is a fodder cart, so that gives you an idea of the carts that ran up the middle of this building, and you can even see the gauge of what that track must have been for those wheels. So what we're going to do now is we'll move on out of here. So again, you can see what a magnificent building this was, or still is. Started construction in about 14. There's another video that talks about the actual construction and what dates things were done. But it was opened for use in 1917. Still stands today in its main structure. Pretty much that simply the stalls have been modernised and turned around. So we'll walk out this way at the other side, and again what I'm going to do is talk about what it was like when I was here in the early 70s. And what happened is you had to be frugal, and so all of the straw that was in the floor of those stalls we brought out here, and we spread the straw out for drying. Not sure if the word is ironic, but twice now in this filming you'll see there's jumps when the camera, we've stopped filming, and that's to allow jets to fly overhead, passenger jets from Adelaide Airport flying overhead. Very noisy. Good training for the horses, desensitised for noise maybe. Anyway, there we go. So that's where we used to dry the straw so that it could be reused in the horses' stalls. And of course in here is where we used to pile the horse manure, huge piles of it. It was taken away by market gardeners. Adelaide market gardeners came and got the manure back then in the 70s, and the main thing was everyone had to have at least one turn at being thrown in the manure pile and having it stuffed down their shirt, stuffed in their trousers, stuffed in their hat, all part of the accepted initiation, there's the word I'm looking for, into mountain. So what we can see here, some horses being exercised, some exercising going on. And again, if we swing around to this old section here, what we've got is, for a long time, this has been where the senior staff members would have their mess, have lunch. And we come around here, we can see some police horses. I'm filming this at the moment, and I will get some guidance after the filming about what has to be cut from this video, so that we'll just move down here, because what I would really like to show, I'm going to have a pause here for a minute to ask, can I go down to the farriers?
So yeah, what we can do is we'll walk down to the farrier out of the shed.
So I'll have to keep this going even though I'm going to cut it out.
That's right.
Okay, so I think one of the primary things that I remember so well from being here for over 2 stints is I'll just swing around here and have a look at the horse's backside. Because of course times have changed very much, and now is just look at the farrier's room. And the thing about the farrier's room is, when I was here, I spent a lot of time down here, a lot of time. Pretty much every lunch break and break I would be in here, because there was a full-time proper blacksmith farrier was employed. The forge was always roaring, always working on horseshoes, and horses were always, seemingly every day, horses were being shod, and of course they were hot shod back then. Hot shoes were put on their feet, burned the sole so they could see where it needed to be evened out. So we're just now going to finish off by briefly showing you where the menage is in relation to this video, because we've got a separate video about the menage. So with that, many thanks to the South Australian Police Department for letting me in here and film this, and there'll be links to other videos about other aspects of Theberton Barracks. Cheers.